Health authorities say there is no need of a lockdown and that the situation can be managed.
අවම එහෙම තීරණයක් අරගෙන නැහැ. ලොක්ඩවුන් කරන්න ඕනි තත්ත්වයක් තාම තීරණය කරලා නැහැ. එහෙම අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැහැ.
Supermarkets in 18 police jurisdictions in Gampaha to be closed for 3 days. The Mahasangha Council of the Sri Lanka Amarapura Ramanya Samagiri informs the government that the 20th Amendment violates democracy.
අපිට තියෙන ලොකුම ගැටලුව තමයි 20 වෙනි විවස්ථා සංශෝධනයේ යටතේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම විවස්ථාදායකය සහ අධිකරණය කියන මේ දෙක විධායකට යට වෙන බව අපට පේනවා. ඒකෙන් වෙන්නේ ඒකාධිපති බලයක් ගම්‍යමාන වීමයි සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ.
State Minister Cabral says discussions with China underway to secure a loan worth $700 million. Former President Maithripala Sirisena testifies at the Presidential Commission probing April attacks.
Hello there and a very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Dasni Athada. Starting off with your top story tonight. 51 new COVID-19 cases have been reported from the Minuanguda cluster. 15 of them were employees of the Brandix factory, while 36 of them were close contacts. As of 7 p.m. this evening, the total number of COVID-19 patients in the Minuanguda cluster had risen to 1,397.
Restrictions on quarantine curfew revised.
ගම්පහ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ පොලිස් වසම් 18ක් ආශ්‍රිතව නිරෝධායන ඇඳිනි.
Quarantine curfew is currently in effect across 18 police jurisdictions in the Gampaha district. During the last few days, shops and pharmacies were allowed to remain open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. However, considering the detection of COVID-19 patients, a decision has been made to close down all stores and pharmacies for the next 3 days. Although vehicles will be allowed to travel through these areas, they will not be allowed to pick up or drop passengers. Candidates sitting for the advanced level examination will not be affected due to the mechanism that is in place. The students will be allowed to sit for the exams in keeping with these guidelines at the examination centers in their areas. We will provide them with the required facilities to do so.
ලැබෙනවා. මේ ප්‍රදේශවල විභාග මධ්‍යස්ථානවල සිටින සිසුන්ට ඒ සඳහා අපි අවශ්‍ය උපරිම පහසුකම් සලසා තිබෙනවා.
Will the country be placed under lockdown?
අවම එහෙම තීරණයක් අරගෙන නැහැ.
We haven't decided about that yet. A need has not yet arisen to impose a lockdown. That is because the people had managed to avoid spreading COVID-19 for the past 9 months.
මේ රටේ මිනිස්සු පුරුදු වුණා කොවිඩ් පතුරවන්න නැතුව ඉන්න.
News First made inquiries about certain incidents surrounding the spread of COVID-19 in the country. What action has been taken against the police officer who had violated quarantine regulations?
දැන් දින දෙකකට පෙර
A police constable driver who was at a quarantine center had acted in a careless manner in the Kalutara district a few days ago. His service has been suspended with immediate effect. He is currently undergoing quarantine. We have reported facts to court on the driver. We will file a case against him for breaching quarantine laws once his quarantine period is over.
නඩු පැවරීම සිදු කරනු ලබනවා.
What is the situation in the Kegol district?
Currently, 284 employees at the Brandix factory in Pinnavala have been asked to remain at home. The PCR tests that were carried out on them showed that 19 had contracted COVID-19. We have directed those employees to the treatment centers.
Meanwhile, 3 doctors at the outpatient department or the OPD in the Kegol General Hospital have also tested positive for COVID-19.
We conducted contact tracing based on the COVID-19 patients at the Brandix garment factory. Since the OPD was involved in this process, we carried out a screening test on the employees attached to Ward 6 in the hospital and the OPD as well. Then we learned that 3 people had been infected by the virus.
What is the situation at the Horana Base Hospital? The admission of patients to Ward 5 of the Horana Base Hospital has been temporarily suspended after a nurse had tested positive for the virus. Only one nurse had tested positive for COVID-19 in the Horana Base Hospital. We have conducted tests on 108 employees. The results of these tests have turned out to be negative. Therefore, any COVID-19 patient has not been detected from the Horana Base Hospital. I wish to inform the residents of Horana that there is no need to fear the situation at the hospital. What is the current situation in the Mannar district? The Pattithutam and Periyakadai areas in the Mannar district that have been declared as isolated areas were reopened at 6 p.m. today.
We have conducted PCR tests on 41 individuals who came in close contact with a worker who had tested positive for the virus on the 7th of this month. The tests show that 8 among the 41 people have been infected by COVID-19. 5 patients have been sent to the Iranavala treatment center. 3 of them will be sent today. We have made arrangements to conduct a second test on 8 patients. There are 103 close contacts of these patients. The second generation contacts amount to 150.
second contacts 150 විතර ඉන්නවා.
Issuing a statement, the National Development Bank said one of its staff members commuting from Minuwangoda, who is working at the Marine Drive building of the bank, had tested positive for COVID-19. It added that all staff associated with the relevant staff member are currently under self-quarantine with direction from government officials. Meanwhile, issuing a statement, the management of South Asia Textiles Limited in Katunayaka said one of its staff members had tested positive for COVID-19. This was after the results of the PCR tests carried out on its staff members on the 10th of October were released. The company in its statement requested that the privacy of the individual be respected. 12 employees attached to the Lanka electricity company in the Kandana office have tested positive for COVID-19. The employees of the Kandana office were placed in self-isolation after the daughter of an employee who was among the Minuwangoda cluster had tested positive for the virus. Meanwhile, movement has been restricted at the OM 320 residency located in Colombo 2 after a COVID-19 patient was found from one of the towers last night. Issuing a statement, Hella Clothing said that an employee attached to the company's Tiharia plant had tested positive for COVID-19. The employee's wife is among the Minuwangoda COVID cluster.
Meanwhile, Sri Lankan Airlines confirmed media reports stating that an employee of the airline at Sri Lankan Cargo Operations Division at the Bandaranaike International Airport has tested positive for COVID-19 today. The staff member in concern is a resident of the Gampaha district and is currently admitted to the hospital and receiving the necessary treatment. Sri Lankan Airlines said it is believed that he has contracted the virus from external sources. The national carrier added that 50 co-workers who worked on the shift roster with the affected member of staff have been subjected to PCR tests and the results are awaited. The airline said that it has taken every step to protect the workforce as per government COVID-19 healthcare guidelines to prevent the spread of the virus within the organization and continues to work closely with health and other government agencies. What about Sri Lankans residing overseas? The repatriation of Sri Lankans living overseas has been temporarily suspended owing to the prevailing situation surrounding COVID-19 in the country. The Foreign Relations Ministry said that the decision was made due to the limited space available at quarantine centers and hospitals treating COVID-19 patients. Accordingly, the ministry said that steps will be taken to revise the schedules of a number of aircrafts that were due to arrive in the country. It added that plans are afoot to repatriate Sri Lankans as soon as the situation returns to normalcy in the country.
Meanwhile, the GCE Advanced Level Examination, which was postponed due to the corona pandemic, commenced this morning in 2,648 centres island-wide. 62,824 candidates have been qualified to sit for the GCE Advanced Level Examination this year. According to our correspondents, the students who faced the examination today followed the prescribed health guidelines. Special arrangements were made by the Ministry of Education for the self-quarantining students who are facing the examination this year. 12 special examination centres were arranged by the Ministry of Education for the candidates who are sitting the examination in other districts and are residents of the Gampaha district. A statement issued by the Department of Examinations said that the health authorities, the armed forces, the Disaster Management Centre and the Ministry of Defence have been informed to take necessary action in any case of emergency due to the spread of COVID-19. The Department of Examinations also said that with the sudden spread of the virus, an additional invigilator has been appointed to coordinate the provision of facilities at the examination centres.
These were some of the views expressed in the political arena regarding the COVID-19 situation in the country.
Until the general election was over, the government claimed that Sri Lanka was at the forefront of managing the COVID-19 situation in the world. Even the process of distributing COVID-19 relief and concessions was also politicized. The public must be informed of the COVID-19 affected areas, as this would help them to protect themselves. It has come to a situation where the government is not revealing this information to the public and the media as well. The government is not maintaining 100% transparency. Curfew has been imposed in many districts, including Gampaha. Locals in these areas have not been given food and other essential supplies. The government's main objective at present is to destroy the 19th Amendment. At a time the government should be more concerned about COVID-19, their only focus is to destroy the 19th Amendment and bring in a family-led constitution.
We cannot speak anything positive about the health authority with regard to COVID-19. There is no health services director. This means that there is no one to report, complain or question about these matters. That is the unfortunate fate that has befallen the Health Services Department. The mechanism that is implemented while transferring doctors is questionable. If this situation is not rectified, we wish to tell the President that we are suspicious about the future of this country and whether it would fall prey to COVID-19 just like some foreign nations. We are making a humble request to work harder than the first wave and to eliminate the virus from the country by appointing qualified individuals to the relevant positions. Instead of doing that, if we entrust the army commander with the sole responsibility of tackling this, the country will fall into an unfortunate position. I wish to remind that several doctors have been given service transfers. We wish to tell the minister that these are not justifiable transfers. Cancel these transfers without delay and grant them relief. Listen to the problems put forward by all groups instead of paying attention only to the grievances of the Government Medical Officers Association.
The post of Health Services Director is a cabinet appointment. They might cite several acts ranging from the Quarantine Ordinance, the Tobacco Act, Transplant Act or the Food and Drugs Act. Ultimately, it is the Director General of Health Services who is the main official responsible for these matters. Although the Ministry Secretary is not appointed by the Cabinet, does not have powers to make appointments, it is the Health Secretary who has issued the letter to the Health Chief. Who is the official who can implement the Quarantine Ordinance? There is no one. The Health Services Director is continuing to serve under a letter issued by the Health Secretary. This is completely wrong. Legal action must be taken against the Health Ministry over this.
මේක සම්පූර්ණ වැරදි මේකට නීතිමය පියවර සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයට එරෙහිව ගත යුතුයි.
Dr. Jayaruwan Bandara, who previously served as the director of the Medical Research Institute, has been appointed as the spokesman to the Health Ministry. The newly appointed spokesman convened a media briefing today on the current situation in the country.
We are in a position under which COVID-19 can be brought under control in the country. None of the patients are at intensive care units. We have allocated 17 hospitals to manage COVID-19 patients. The specialist doctors who have studied the nature of this virus have said that its virulence is high. This means that a person can easily contract the virus and that it can spread easily. Against such a backdrop, the virus can beat the immune system of a person and infect him. By yesterday, we had carried out 6,483 PCR tests. The Medical Research Institute will receive a new PCR machine today. New equipment are to be received in the coming weeks. The automated machines that we have ordered are also due to arrive in the near future.
automated machine එන්න නියමිතයි.
There are 15 treatment centers at present. These centers have 2,048 beds in total. 30% of them are vacant at present. We can admit patients at these centers. The government has more than 60,000 units of protective gear. Therefore, there is no issue for hospitals in obtaining these equipment when required.
The Sri Lanka Amarapura and Ramanya Samagiri Mahasangha Sabha has decided to declare the 20th Amendment to the Constitution as undemocratic. The Sangha Sabha issued a joint statement announcing its decision today.
The Sri Lanka Amarapura and Ramanya Samagiri Mahasangha Sabha in a joint statement urged the government not to pass the 20th Amendment as it has been concluded that the amendment hinders freedom of thought and the ability to act and takes the country back to a tribal, underdeveloped state. The Sabha emphasizes that the 20th Amendment to the Constitution must be withdrawn as it gets in the way of the progress of modern society, which is built on democracy. The Sangha Sabha is of the view that action should be taken to draft a new constitution that will safeguard democracy and the rule of law.
There are 6,000 temples and 20,000 monks in these nations, abolishing the sovereignty of the people, making the country lawless, legalizing theft, corruption, fraud, as well as dual citizens, damaging the sovereignty of the country, and various other complications would be a fatal blow to democracy. So the monks commented that this would be done on someone's personal initiative. And they also commented that this is person-centered. The discussion in the country was to get a new constitution. If there are certain shortcomings in the 19th Amendment, there is a situation where the country can move forward by correcting them. When the country is facing a health crisis, we should focus more on overcoming the health crisis than wasting time on constitutional amendments. Subsequently, all political parties can join hands in discussing the formation of a new constitution. The situation is disappointing. It goes against the democracy and the rule of law. This is why we issued a joint statement in this regard today.
අපිට තියෙන ලොකුම ගැටලුව තමයි 20 වෙනි විවක්තා සංසෝධන.
Our biggest concern over the 20th Amendment is that both the judiciary and the legislature will come under the purview of the President. This will pave the way for a dictatorship rule in the country and remove all power vested with the Parliament. As a society that values democracy and a Bhikkhu Council that values democracy, we feel that supporting the 20th Amendment goes against the principles of democracy. We believe all the sects will support our concerns as we go forward. If a new constitution is to be brought forward within 6 months, we are concerned as to why a new constitutional amendment has come forward to replace the 19th Amendment.
විවක්තා සංශෝධනය විශ්ව වශයෙන් එන්න කියන එක ලොකු ගැටලුකාරී තත්ත්වයක්.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාට විරුද්ධ වුණා. කාට හව විරුද්ධ වුණත් නීති ඉදිරියට යන්න පුළුවන්.
With the level of immunity that was there in the past, there were provisions for people to go before court even against the president or anyone else. Even former presidents and prime ministers are summoned to testify at commissions. However, with such a constitutional amendment, the level of accountability of such senior officials will be questionable. An individual with dual citizenship can enter parliament under the new amendment. You must remember that many powerful countries send in their spies into other countries. These spies have been molded to blend in with the victim country. Thereafter, the internal governing system of the country is destroyed. This is a takeover strategy used by powerful nations under the new colonial system. Therefore, the leadership of any country should be handed over to a citizen of Sri Lanka.
යම්කිසි රටක නායකත්වය ලැබිය යුත්තේ පුරවැසිකමක් තියෙන කෙනෙක්.
රජය බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ගෙනල්ලා.
The ruling party hopes to approve the amendment in parliament. This dictatorial thought process is what should be defeated. This is a democratic country and it remains so in the future. Sri Lanka is accepted in the eyes of the international community because of this democratic framework. The rule of law should be established, not a dictatorship rule. It is only then that the people's mandate can be protected.
ඒක පුද්ගල බලාධිකාරයක් නෙවෙයි නීති ආධිපත්‍ය තමයි රටක පිහිටවන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට තමයි ජනතා පරමාධිපත්‍ය රැකෙන්නේ.
මේ විශ්ව සංශෝධනයක් ගැන කතා වුණේ නැහැ ජනාධිපතිවරණය කිව්වත් මහමැතිවරණය කිව්වා.
අලුත් ව්‍යවස්ථාවක් ගැන කතා වුණේ. ඒ ASCII තමයි මේ 20 ගෙනල්ලා
අපිට කියන අලුත් ව්‍යවස්ථාවට
ඕනේ. අලුත් ව්‍යවස්ථාවක් ඕනේ කියලා අපිත් කියනවා.
මොකද තුනෙන් දෙකේ
If there is a 2/3 majority, why is the new act that paves the way for abnormal powers put forward? If a 2/3 majority is there, anything can be done.
ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී.
A public discourse has been created over a document circulating on social media that is believed to be the Supreme Court verdict on the 20th Amendment.
Speaker Mahinda Yapabewardena today confirmed that he has received the Supreme Court verdict on the 20th Amendment. He noted that he had perused the documents sent to him by the Supreme Court today. The Speaker added that the verdict will be presented to Parliament on the 20th of this month.
මම ඊයේ පෙරේදා බලනකොට දුරකථනයේ
A document believed to be the Supreme Court verdict had been circulating on WhatsApp recently. We have filed cases in courts for the last 12 years. However, on no occasion have the verdicts been sent via Messenger or on Facebook. According to this document, it will not be an issue for the Supreme Court to pass the amendment with a public referendum that has been opposed by Parliament. Generally, verdicts of this nature are sent to the President. In the past, we have seen that court verdicts that are sent to the President are published in the form of an official statement by his office.
ජනගත කිරීම විතරයි.
අපි අධිකරණයේ තීරණය ගැන දැනගන්නේ එන සතියේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ.
We will be informed about the court verdict when it is put forward by the Speaker in Parliament next Tuesday. There is a document that is circulating online claiming to be the court verdict. I am surprised about what has taken place. That is because court verdicts of this nature are sent to the President or the Speaker. I don't think that these documents would be leaked by the judiciary of Sri Lanka. We have utmost faith on the judiciary. When the verdict is sent to the Speaker, it is not made public immediately. That is the convention adopted by the President as well. We feel that the verdict will be announced by adopting the proper procedure at the right time. However, there is something circulating on social media. We cannot comment on that. We do not know what it is about.
බෑ ඒ නිසා මොකද අපි දන්නේ නැහැ මොකක්ද කියලා ඒක.
සමාජ මාධ්‍යවල යනවා නොයෙකුත් කතන්දර. ඔය ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ භුක්තිය පිළිබඳව එතකොට දික්තපුරැසිභාවය පිළිබඳව මෙවැනි කතාවල් කරනවා. මොකද්ද මේ තත්ත්වය එතකොට?
නෑ ඒක න අපිට කිසිවක් කියන්න බෑ. මොකද දැනට ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨ.
No, we cannot comment on that. The Supreme Court has not announced its verdict yet. Verdict of the Supreme Court has been sent to the Speaker and the President.
මේ තීරණය ඒ දෙපළට ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා.
While various views are being expressed on the 20th Amendment, several remarks were made over parliamentarian Rishad Badudin today as well. This is due to the controversy that has arisen over the release of his brother, who was arrested over last year's April 21st attacks. Representatives of the Sinhala movement and the People's Justice Centre visited the National Police Commission today to inquire into the progress of their complaint over this matter.
On the 5th, we filed a special complaint with the Police Commission regarding the release of Riyaj Badudin, who is the brother of Rishad Badudin. However, the complaint that we filed had been sent to the Inspector General of Police again. The Police Commission is above the IGP in the hierarchy. We heard that they are going to launch an investigation into this after sending the relevant documents to the Attorney General. Police spokesperson Jaliya Senaratne has been transferred on disciplinary grounds. This is the same manner in which DIG Nuwan Wedasinghe or the Criminal Investigations Department was transferred. These transfers indicate that the arrest of Riyaj Badudin was a conspiracy.
නිදහස් කිරීම තනිකරම කුමන්ත්‍රණකාරී වැඩපිළිවෙලක් කියලා පොලිස් කොමිසම මේ වන විට ජාලිය සේනාරත්න මහත්මාව පොලිස් කොමිසමට කැඳවුවා.
The Police Commission has decided to summon Jaliya Senaratne and to record a statement on his recent remarks in order to launch an investigation into the matter. We were informed that the Police Commission has also directed the Inspector General of Police to instruct the Criminal Investigation Department to gather the required information on the questioning of Riyaj Badudin. There seems to be a problem over the failure to issue these instructions. We wish to clearly state to the IGP, the Police Commission and the government that we are certain that Jaliya Senaratne and Nuwan Wedasinghe are not the perpetrators of the April 21st attacks. This problem cannot be resolved simply by punishing them and giving them service transfers.
ඒ අයට ස්ථාන මාරු කරලා පමණක් මේ ප්‍රශ්නය විසඳන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නැහැ.
A group of officers, including the DIG of the Criminal Investigations Department, Prasad Ranasinghe, had been summoned to the Attorney General's Department today to inquire into the release of Riyaj Badudin.
Riyaj Badudin යන අයවලුන් නිදහස් කිරීම සඳහා ගත් පියවර.
It was noted that the release of Riyaj Badudin by the Criminal Investigation Department is unjustified. Accordingly, it was revealed that the CID had not done proper investigation into the matter. They have failed to investigate Riyaj Badudin on money laundering concerning his assets, including vehicle, businesses and bank accounts. And it was revealed that the director of the CID has failed to assign an experienced and knowledgeable officer to conduct investigation with regard to money laundering. It was also revealed that the CID has failed to conduct an extensive investigation on the money spent for terrorist activities and has failed to locate 12 of the 16 mobile phones used by Riyaj Badudin. After analyzing these facts, the Attorney General gave written instruction to the DIG in charge of the CID on conducting further investigations and special measures that need to be followed.
ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ගත යුතු විශේෂ පියවර සම්බන්ධයෙන් ලිඛිත උපදෙස් අද දින ලබා දීමක් සිදු කළා.
Meanwhile, Riyaj Badudin had written a letter to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today. In his letter, Badudin had said, that certain parties are carrying out a campaign demanding his arrest without any justification. He added that he had been released in line with the verdict issued by the magistrates' court, as there was no evidence to warrant his continued detention. Badiuddin pointed out that 4 of the 7 people who were arrested along with him on similar allegations had been released previously, and that the demands for his rearrest have been orchestrated due to political and communal reasons.
Former police media spokesperson SSP Jalisena Ratna arrived at the police commission today to provide a statement in connection to an investigation that is currently underway.
Former President Maithripala Sirisena gave evidence for the second time at the Presidential Commission probing last year's April 21st attacks today. In a testimony, he said the then Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe had given advice to ministers by ignoring the instructions issued by him as the executive president. The witness told the Commission that the failure of the government, including the ministers, to abide by his instructions was one of the reasons that led to the April 21st attacks. He added that the former Prime Minister had instructed the Central Bank and the Finance Ministry to avoid implementing decisions that were made by the National Economic Council that was headed by the President. The former President told investigators that he was not informed of certain activities that had been politically motivated under the previous administration. This included the summoning of Tri-Forces commanders to anti-corruption units, producing military intelligence officials to court and remanding them, and summoning the Navy commander at that time to court. The witness recalled that he had summoned the then Law and Order Minister Sagala Ratnayaka and senior officials of the Criminal Investigations Department and had warned them to carry out these investigations in an unbiased manner. The former president accused the then Director General of the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, Dilrukshadas Wickremesinghe, of engaging in politics at Temple Trees during her stint in office. Meanwhile, the former president conceded that weekly intelligence coordination meetings had not taken place regularly during his term in office. He told the Commission that the defense secretaries under his administration had shirked their responsibilities. Former President Sirisena said that the defense secretaries during his time had been removed from office as they lied to him during National Security Council meetings, stating that intelligence coordination meetings had taken place weekly.
දැන් මේ දැන් ලබන බදාදා යනවා ඉතින් බදාදා පස්සේ කතා කරමු ඈ අන්තිම දවසේ කතා කරමු බොහොම ස්තුතියි ආ
දැන් යහපාලනයේ හිටපු මහපාලකයන් දෙදෙනාවන ජනපති සහ අගමැති අතර තිබිච්ච විරසකයේ තමා මේ පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරයට හේතුව කියලා සඳහන් වුණා. ඒක ඔබ පිළිගන්නවාද එහෙම දෙයක් වෙලා තියෙනවද?
එහෙම මේ කොමිෂන් සභාව පරීක්ෂණ වලින් සොයාගන්න.
This government came into power pledging to identify the perpetrators of the April 21st attacks and the central bank bond scam as well. We haven't seen Arjuna Mahendran being arrested so far. We didn't see the culprits behind the bond scam spending at least 5 minutes in remand. We haven't seen the individuals who were behind Zaharan being identified as well. We saw that the former IGP has told the Presidential Commission that an intelligence officer had met with the suicide bomber at Dahiwala before the attacks. However, we did not witness an investigation into that as well. These promises have been violated severely before the people. Just as the Cardinal said, we have a question as to whether these are political deals. These are jokes. If they are assuming that they can resolve this matter by transferring the police spokesperson to Kankasanture and the head of the CID and by punishing them, this is wrong.
ඒගොල්ලන්ට දඩුවම් දීලා මේක බේරගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා හිතනවා නම් ඒක වැරදි.
Sri Lanka's geopolitics.
State Minister Ajit Niwad Cabral says that discussions are underway with China to obtain a loan facility of $700 million. Expressing his ideas to the Nikkei Asia website, the state minister has told that discussions have been going on for a long time with the China Development Bank about the matter.
Following a recent visit by a high-level Chinese delegation led by Yang Jieshi, member of the Political Bureau, the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China and Director of the Foreign Affairs Commission, it was announced that China will provide a $90 million grant to Sri Lanka China stated that the money will be used to improve the health and education sectors in rural areas. They provided the aid while Sri Lanka was in discussion with China to obtain a loan of $1.2 billion. According to the Nikkei Asia website, China has already provided $500 million out of this amount to Sri Lanka. Expressing his views to the website, State Minister Ajit Niwad Cabral said talks are underway to obtain another $700 million from China. The State Minister was quoted as saying, "If we have to go and hold the IMF's hand, or if the IMF has to hold our hand, that I think is a danger signal. We know we have to get our debt situation under control. Do we need the IMF to say that?"
A collective of 9 associations has submitted a proposal to the Prime Minister to uplift the marketing communications industry that has been hit by COVID-19.
The Marcom collective that comprises 9 advertising and marketing associations has submitted a proposal to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa in a bid to support the industry. Key factors in the proposal included completely deducting advertising expenses, finance costs and staff costs from the taxable income, and also reducing the tax on gains and profits to 14%. The proposal also recommended the government to offer short-term working capital loans at concessionary rates for companies with an annual turnover that is less than 50 million rupees. It urged all state authorities to immediately clear outstanding payments that are due to the marketing communication industry and requested that VAT payments be made only after receiving the payment from the customer. The collective pointed out that the marketing communications industry, which has more than 100,000 employees, contributes 151 billion rupees to the economy every year. The proposal had been prepared together with independent consultancy firm Ernst & Young that was tasked with preparing a 3-point agenda to mitigate, revive and sustain the industry.
Cabinet approval granted by the Good Governance government to sign the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Compact worth $480 million. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna pledges to abolish the MCC after coming into power. Another pledge made to the Mahasangha, who launched a fast against the MCC. On the 18th of December 2019, the newly elected government appoints a 4-member committee headed by Lalitha Siri Gunaruwan to look into the MCC. On the 17th of February 2020, the committee handed over its interim report to the President. On the 28th of February 2020, then Cabinet spokesperson Bandula Gunawardena announced that the Cabinet decided to suspend the signing of the MCC. Allegations of preparations to place the MCC compact before the public, while concerns on the MCC were pointed out. Amidst the anticipated visit from high-level Chinese delegation to Sri Lanka, US Ambassador in Sri Lanka issues a controversial statement on Chinese intervention, to which China responds immediately. Chinese delegation concluded its high-level visit after providing a grant of 16.5 billion rupees to Sri Lanka. A group of US Embassy officials engaged in a tour to the Chinese-held Hambantota port. Media issue statement that the US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is expected to arrive in Sri Lanka on an unplanned tour. Is Mike Pompeo's visit aimed at discussing the MCC? For your attention.